Hi, I've been following along with Paul McWhorter's Fusion 360 lessons. And lesson 11, he has us working on uh, nuts and bolts and modeling the threads and 3D printing them. It's not something I usually do. And so I hadn't really came across this, but I figured I'd work with the lesson and do that. I came across the problem. Several members of the community have commented that, oh, you ought to be chamfering your ends of your bolts and your both sides of your nuts to create really good lead in so that they go together easy. And I agree with that. If you were making metal bolts or plastic ones, either way, the lead in is going to help you get it done. So I was working on this lesson and I actually came across a problem with doing the chamfers the way I thought would work. And had to do some looking on the internet and I found the answers of what I had, but let's show the problem first. So we'll go to our Fusion. I've already modeled up two starts of two bolts here. Just a threaded rod and some nuts. So we want to work on one at a time. So we're going to turn off a couple of them. So like I said, the easy way I would have thought that, let me move myself out of the way here first. So the easy way I would have thought to do it was, before you put your threads on, go ahead and put some chamfers on. So we're going to chamfer this, the top one here and the bottom one there. If you notice, if you hover, you get those black lines and you can select it without even turning it. Most time I still turn it, but if I'm in a hurry, I can do it that way. So we'll put a 0.1 chamfer on that and hit OK. So now we got chamfers on both sides of our nut and on the bolt top and everything. So let's go ahead and model some threads. So this is a 1-inch rod. I'm in my imperial units again, but we're going to do threads. And what we're going to do threads on here, and we're going to model them. Okay, so all looks good, right? Let's hit OK. Like I say, it's 1 inch, 8 threads per inch. So doesn't matter what size you're doing, you're going to end up with this problem no matter what. And you don't really notice it until you really go in here. This thread does not do anything. It kind of just dead ends because we put that chamfer on there. That's where the thread starts, and it is an unusable product. I think I saw one comment say, well, my bolt won't go on my nut. And if you force it or, it probably will in plastic, but there's no way that this is a normal thing. And I don't know why it happens or anything else. I guess because, like I said, Fusion, because you got your chamfer, that's where it thinks the thread should start, is right at the top of where the thing is. And they just stop them there. And the same thing happens with the nuts as well. So we can maybe go ahead and another thing happens with the nuts, because this is another problem. Another thing that I came across is that you see this is a 100,000 chamfer, which is a good chamfer. But the thing is this hole here is 1 inch. And when we model our threads, our metal has to come in to do that, because like on a 1 inch thread, if you were tapping and drilling that, your drill would be 0.875 probably, which is 120,000. So you got like 60 thousandths. I don't know what that is in metric of material that you're actually adding into this. And when you model the threads, when I model the threads, keep an eye on this chamfer. You can see it actually goes in. I'm going to model this. Did you notice how much that jumped? And then we're going to do this. we're going to say okay. But it's harder to see, but you end up with the same problem. Your threads started there. And they actually, there's nowhere where they actually come out. They don't come out. You see that? You got a dead circle around there that doesn't let your threads in. I said, man, I'm glad I'm not 3D printing these or anything. And if anybody's tried to 3D print them, I bet they might have come across that, because that's the normal way to do it. Because really, let's go ahead and zoom out. So let's get rid of these two, and we'll start over with the other two I got. All right. So chamfering before didn't work. So what about if we chamfer after? So I can tell you that's not going to work either. So we're going to put threads on here, and it's the same end, and we're going to model them, and we're okay. And the threads are okay right there. You see how they're, you know, it leads to a, you know, you have this lead in where your threads can do that. But now there's really nothing to put a chamfer on. You can try to, but you're not going to get a good chamfer. So see, it doesn't pick a whole circle. Just picks all that stuff. And zoom in and try to pick it. Now there's no whole circle there to chamfer, and even if you did, it wouldn't be in the right spot. It stumped me for a while, but I actually went online, and somebody, maybe all you guys already know this as well, but I had to go online and figure it out. So what you need to do is you actually need to edit your threads. So this is the threads on there, and you can't let them go all the way to the top. So right now it's set at full length. So if we unclick that, then you only got this little bit of threads. All right, but I forget how long I made that, but we should make our length probably, I don't know. Let's do 1 inch, 1.5 inches. Oops. 1.5 inches. There we go. All right. But that doesn't help our problem. That just gives us the shoulder down here, but that doesn't help our problem up here. But there is also a offset that you can put. So the offset starts here, and you can move it down. And you want a very small offset here. For me, it works as 0.01, and it offsets it. And it may be negative. I might have to go negative. Let me see. No, I think 0.01. And let's try that and model it. All right. So we still got our problem. Let's turn the nut off. Okay, so we still got our problem of our threads not finishing up here. As we spin it around, you see they just kind of deadhead. But by doing that 0.01 offset, now we actually do have a full circle up here that we can chamfer. And the chamfer actually works when we do it afterwards. So we want to chamfer that. And I like a 0.1. All right, and hit OK. And now you can see you have your chamfer, but then you also have your thread leading in. That's my solution that I found online. Certainly not my diligence of searching, but not of figuring out on my own. So let's go back to the nut and turn the bolt off. And we can do this one as well. So we want to put our threads on here first. And what we want, we put them there, but we want to model them. All right, but we don't want to do full length. Now this you have to do, you have to use your math, because you got to know how long this is. And So our offset is going to be 0.01 again, which is fine. But we want 0.01 offset from the other side. So I know I made this nut 1 inch wide. So I'm going to have to make the offset 0.9, I mean the length 0.98, right? You can see they go almost all the way through, but not quite, and they give us a nice circle that we're going to be able to chamfer afterwards. So whatever you come up with for your offset, you want to subtract that offset from the length of your bolt for the length, or 2 times 2. Or maybe, I don't know. I don't know whether the length of the thread is, you have to take your offset into account. So yeah, you're going to add the 0.01 twice. So I got 0.02. Okay, so I'm going to say okay. Now we got a nut, but you can see, you can tell that the threads aren't going to work in there. So, but now we can go ahead and chamfer it. What are we going to chamfer? Having a hard time picking it up. There we go. So I want to chamfer that. There we go. Gotta be careful when you're picking them. And then we want to go 0.1 again. And you can see we got a nice chamfer and a nice lead in on that side. And a nice chamfer and a lead in on that side. Hit okay. And now they'll work just fine. Anyhow, that's my video about the problem I had with chamfering the ends of bolts and the ends of the nut, both ends of the nut. Hope it helps. Talk to you later. Thanks.